All right, hi everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views, and I have Ed Fury from Sail 22. Uh, Everybody that has ordered parts has probably seen his website or seen him at events. He's a great sailor, a great friend of mine, and he's everywhere. So, how you doing, Ed?
I'm doing great. Just hanging out in the middle of the cornfield and getting things done.
Yeah. All right. So, how's it? I know we were talking a little bit ahead of the recording, but is everything going up? Volume okay? How's it going? How's the business?
We're busy. Some of the busy is just creating, keeping ourselves out there, helping people, making sure people know sailing's still around. The orders that are coming in, I'd say they're pretty normal for what we regularly get. But the downside is our at event business is gone.
Yeah.
With losing really, we lost the last 2 weekends in March. We lost two events in Sarasota, and then we lost Charleston Race Week with Melgus 24 Worlds back to back, which were two major ones with charter boats as well as our business. And then, of course, since then, everything is canceled,
Hmm.
including J70 Worlds. Um, I don't know when our next event actually is.
Hmm.
Um, maybe you got a regatta, which I wasn't supposed to do because that's during J70 Worlds,
Yeah.
when they were supposed to be. That might be a case. So we're trying to create our own thing. Um, we have a Vanguard 15 series that we have been working with the Chicago Vanguard 15 fleet because Sean, who works for us, his girlfriend who got stuck with us, is the president of the Vanguard 15 class. And so last weekend we started a 3 weekend Vanguard 15 series, trying to stay as socially distant as we can with anything we do outside with space, using Markset bot for the keep the race committee
Yeah.
small. Um, we had 7 boats last week, and that was awesome. And this week there's 16 boats lined up, which is great.
That's a good number of boats. So yeah.
Yeah. And then
Um,
we're just trying to figure out if our yacht club's going to race. We don't know that answer yet. They would normally start this weekend, and they haven't made a decision. So, um, really just doing our own thing, and then looking forward as things stop happening, trying to fill some gaps. So we're kind of fine tuning an easy kind of regatta in a box format that
mhm.
we can help help clubs out with. We can come and do it with coaching, with racing, with debriefs, with the whole deal with limited people, and then like the debriefs with Zoom,
Yeah.
and so keep it. And if we do that, the different classes can benefit without going to the regattas as well, because we'll have video and both drone, regular video, still photos, working with some technology that we'll do a tech talk next week with Sail Norge and Vacaros and Cyclops and some other things that trying to add things. And I guess the idea there is we'll travel instead of you traveling. So we'll come to your fleet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so
It's, sounds like you're staying busy and trying to figure out ways to just keep it going.
yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the sailing side. How'd you get into sailing? I mean, have you always been from Indiana, and how
Yep.
did this all work?
So I moved back home when I started right before I started this business. So we're at an inland lake. It's a pretty big inland lake with Culver Academies on one end. And Culver Academies has a summer naval program that was started way back over 100 years ago by the Navy.
Hmm.
And so they have everything from a 60-foot three masted square rigger down to a laser.
I gotcha.
And so when I was 15, 16, 17, I went there and sailed. But before that, our yacht club, which is Max and Cucky Yacht Club, is a paper club. Being we don't have a building, but
Mhm.
we raced Sunfish as junior program, and then back when I was sailing after that, it was Hobie 16s and Sea Scows.
Yeah.
Since then, the MCs replaced the Hobie 16s. And we've hosted, many Sea Scout national championships. We've had, 80 plus Hobie 16s. We've had 80 plus MCs. So we're pretty exposed here with, kind of the Melgus world with the Scouts,
Yeah.
and always remember the Porters and the Melguses and Burdicks and those guys coming, to sail here.
Yeah. They're not
And
very
then,
far away from you, are they?
no, we're 2 hours from Chicago. So
Right.
we're 3 hours basically from Lake Geneva. My aunt married Fraser Beer, who was working for Melgus, starting the sail making business when they had that back in the late '70s. And so we were pretty, we kind of got tied into the Melgus family that way. And so seeing, like, I remember going out to San Diego with, the Cup, and getting into the compounds because Buddy Melgus,
Yeah.
my dad knew Buddy Melgus.
Yeah.
So pretty exposed to that. And then the summers, Bill Koch went to Culver, and so
wow.
Bill went to the winter school and he went to the summer program as well. So when I was teaching in college, teaching sailing there, Bill Koch had donated 9 of what he built. We called them mini maxis, but they were a 22-foot version of the maxi class. He built like 3 of his Matadors, and then he built all the competition in 22 feet long.
Now, do they rock and roll like the big ones did, or are they a little different, a little more stable?
They were fairly stable.
Yeah.
They were basically tank boats,
all
and
right.
then they rigged them up to sail.
Okay.
And so Bill sent one of his really high end guys to teach us, his boat captains, and so I was exposed to that, and I was became the boat captain for the higher end stuff at Culver, and then basically I took time off of school and I kept doing the sailing thing. That's how we're here.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. So who helped influence you? Obviously that school got you going, and then you got to see Burdick and the Melges and other people like that. Who really jumped in and helped you, become a great sailor?
So my dad's a really good sailor, but when we were young, he sold his boat, and then he'd jump in a boat every year and seem like he'd win a race.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, but I didn't sail with him until much later because he didn't own a boat. Our junior program, we had a guy who's still an awesome sailor, Joe Schaub, and Scotty Spear, who were our instructors, and they were the ones that were out there doing real chalk talks back when we used chalkboards.
Mm-hmm.
And we would sail down to Scott Spear's house, and we would do a quick chalk talk, and we'd go out sailing. And I was a little guy. I was tiny, and sometimes I'd have a crew that was tiny as well, so we'd end up being barely over 100 pounds, and we'd go out sailing and breeze and everything else, and just kept doing it. And I had a lot of cousins that there's a lot of us, and so we all each other, and I was one of the younger ones, and
being the young one, you try hard to beat the older ones, huh?
Yep, we always wanted to be better, and just over time, that happened. Now if I jump into scow, I'm definitely not going to be the best one out there because that's all they're sailing. Mm-hmm. And what's really nice is we have 10, 12 boats on the water, 8 of them can win easily. Mm-hmm. And so that's good. I have 2 cousins, two direct cousins that are very good. My brother crewed a lot for one of them, and they kind of dominated when they were together. And my other cousin who had worked for us, he's doing really well in the MC. And so we had a bunch of us that have always sailed and still sail, and now the next generation's coming up, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right. So at what age did you think you were good? I mean, did you have any aha moments when you're like, holy cow, I'm actually pretty good at this? Did you get shocked by anything?
Mine was pretty late. When I was 17, my last year of Culver, I won every race. And I was like, Now, and I had another cousin who was kind of a cousin of a cousin, and he was really good too. And we didn't race each other every time, but that year when we did, and we were in the same company, so we didn't race each other at certain times. But in the stuff that we did race, I won. He was racing different boats, and so he was winning. And so it was kind of at that time that I was like, I'm not bad.
Yeah.
I think I'm figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, I gotcha. Now, you said you sailed sunfish growing up. Did you ever take that and go do any of the traveling with and do big regattas in a sunfish, or?
No, I sailed the sunfish that's just the picture. Never, the racing package, never knew anything about the racing package until much later. And so I haven't. When I lived in Houston and ran KO sailing, we had guys, we had the Sunfish North Americans there. Mm-hmm. And but I didn't race because I was running everything.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of times when I've been stuck running everything. And so, it was when I was a sailmaker, I sailed more. Um, Now, I have to make sure I jump on boats at certain times to keep sailing.
Yeah.
And, having 3 kids under 6 right now,
That's a handful. Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's another thing I was going to ask. I remember seeing you in Miami this winter. We had the Bacardi series, and I saw you every trip, and I wasn't sure if because you were always setting up a boat and fixing up a boat. I don't even know if you ever got on the water. Now, did you, or were you just strictly managing things and keeping everything straight?
This year I didn't sail in Miami.
Yeah.
I sailed in Sarasota and in St. Pete with the RS-21's. I did one event in Davis Island this year. Last year and the year before, I did basically the whole circuit crewing for Glen Gulf. And so I did, and that was kind of I kind of have to make conscious efforts, to make sure I'm sailing and not sailing because of running the business and everything else. And this year we had the RS-21s up in Sarasota. We had more Melgus 24 stuff. We had the J70. And so this year was just a year. It was a lot harder to sail myself.
Yeah.
But I need to make sure I don't get stuck in those grooves.
Yeah. I want to thank you. I don't know if I ever got around to it, for thanking you for hooking me up with the, what was that? The Race Geek thing when I was running the Melgus Nationals. That was our big, prize giveaway, and we had to go through you, and thank you for that. And thank you, Race Geek, because that was an awesome package. All right, so let's move on to something else. What's your favorite boat? Because I know you're about to run a bunch of them. So do you have a favorite, or are they all the same, or?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite. The Melgus 24 is an awesome boat. The E-Scow is an awesome boat. We're doing this Vanguard 15 stuff, and it's an awesome boat. I'd say the awesome boat is the boat that can really get up and go. And it has good strong fleets and people.
Yeah. And all three of those you just named they got plenty to get up and go.
Exactly.
So,
I do a lot with other boats. Like the J70 is such a great boat because there's so many good people in the class. And like I look back, like the Melgus, there's the J70 a little bit. Sometimes it's too competitive to be as fun because you have to be serious.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking with Judd the other day, and that's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, you get too serious sometimes. And so, like with this whole breakdown of whatever we're doing right now, this stop and go that we're trying to figure out the go, we need to figure out how to have fun again. And it just seemed like in the heyday, the Melgus 24 class had both. It's such an amazing boat ahead of its time, but then you get off the water and you had such amazing people.
Yeah.
The Worlds in Corpus Christi was really cool. I didn't sail. We were making sure it happened, but it was such a cool event because it was small, everyone got off the water and hung out together.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to create. And of course, now we're running this Vanguard 15 series, and we have to tell people to go home because we can't do this. So everything that we want to happen, we can't happen right now, but we want to set ourselves up so it can happen soon.
Yeah. I know that seems to be what everybody's trying to focus on, is what to do next. Which the hard thing is figuring out when it's going to be. And I know you were saying, your schedule is, backed off and you're changing things up. Ours is, we postponed a lot of regattas till the beginning of June, and the problem is it's the beginning of the June. We're almost there, and now those are being canceled. So I don't know when it's finally going to all kick off, So, that just presents problems for everybody. And, especially people like you trying to organize events a long ways away.
Yeah.
All right, so what's one of the best regattas you've done?
Well, my only national championship was the Key West Race Week. I don't even remember the year, but it was One Design 35s on Wild Thing.
Okay.
Team out of California. I lived in San Diego, so I knew a lot of those guys, and so that was a lot of fun because it was big air. The year before, we had gotten like I think either second or third place, but there was like 1 point between the top three.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of, this regatta, we put it all together, and it was a lot of fun and a fun group.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And then there was a Melgus 24 North Americans in Fort Lauderdale with big breeze and big waves. Those are two of them that just come to mind of, you got off the water and you were like smiling, but it hurt to smile.
Yeah. Yeah. You're sore, you're tired, but that was a blast. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So, what about your worst? If you had a really bad regatta or just something where nothing went right?
I had a Melgus 24 North Americans in California that I didn't know the owner really. We were doing really well, but not his normal. And so we got into a protest, and we actually threw the regatta organizer out, which didn't go very well.
Oh wow,
We
that's hard to do.
we got into a non-protest where another team had to do a turn, and then they were upset with me because they were winning the regatta and we weren't supposed to be doing that well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of everything went wrong. Like, we did really well, and because of that, everything went wrong.
Yeah, that's definitely a bummer. All right. Well, speaking of protests, do you consider yourself aggressive or conservative? On the water, or
I'm a lot more conservative than I used to be.
yeah.
I think from a sailing standpoint, I'll be aggressive in some of the moves to stay clear and to get around, but maybe push it to get close.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, like, one of the interesting things about this guy I was sailing with is at the end of kind of sailing with him, we were at a fleet dinner where we won the San Diego fleet, this Melgus 24s. And I had a guy come up to me and he said, I used to know that the owner was always going to attack on me. No matter, every chance he got, he was going to attack on me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got on the boat, I have no idea when you're going to attack on me, but every time you attack on me, it's because it's the right move.
Yeah.
On the race course. And that said a lot. I did an Etchells where, the Jaguar, I was sailing with someone, and like, we'd be in the middle of the course, and those boats are 30 feet long with 22 feet of water line, and the overhang's crazy, and
Yeah.
we'd be in the middle of the course, we'd have to duck someone by a foot, and she'd just go crazy, and I'm like, let's just
Yeah.
sail.
Just don't worry about it. Yeah.
They owe us a beer. They owe us a beer. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the race course, the first leg up. It doesn't matter. We're going the direction we want to go. Yeah, we didn't wave them across, but we didn't know our decision.
Yeah.
So we just got to let them go, And so I think, I've grown up a lot in the fact that, I've been with people that, are considered protest happy. And that's made me change because of the fact that you don't win in a collision. You don't win, and life's too short. You just gotta go sailing. And I heard you talking about a story with Pat. I think Patrick Wilson watched it about how you snuck it in there between the pin in a boat or something.
Yeah.
Barely made it. And those are the type of things I would do if I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Where and you kind of know your boat, you know your luck kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But you also know that if you make a mistake, you're gonna hone up to it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where I think I feel like I am from the protest side of things.
Yeah. It's funny you say, the owner would tack on somebody all the time, and I've gotten over the years so much more big picture that all these other boats I don't care about. I'm thinking, okay, I want to get left for leverage. I want to get right for leverage. Right now it's getting weird. I want to suck into the middle, and I think of pictures like that. I don't care about the boats around me. I'm not going to tack on anybody. The only time I'll tack on you is if I have to leave value.
Yeah.
I have no reason. I don't care if you're there. I want nothing to do with you. And that's something I think a lot of people miss in sailing overall. I've been sailing with these some newer guys lately, and some of the people they bring on board, they're like, "Oh, tack on them, tack on them." I'm like, "Why? No, no." Don't do that. And I have some new sailors on my boat as well, and they're just not used to long range planning, which is something I think there's a growth spurt somewhere in sailing tactically where people have to hit that line and understand it.
Absolutely.
All right. So speaking about great maneuvers, what have you pulled off?
I mean, one that comes to mind was when when I was in Houston, I raced Vanguard 15s a bunch, and we started the fleet, at Houston Yacht Club, and when I was working for KO Sailing, and I had a guy crewing for me. It wasn't my normal crew. Ann Graham was my all-time favorite, best crew ever. She's still down at Houston Yacht Club. We had a blast, but I had someone else crewing for me that was working at the Quantum Loft with me there. And he came and jumped on the boat with me, and it may not even been I think it was a race, but it was like the only time I think he sailed with me, and we were coming into a mark, and you have Vanguard 15 short course racing, it's just one of those things where you just kind of felt, you can feel where the bow is, you sail the boat so much that you know where it is, and I came in where I had to duck one boat and get into the mark ahead where you're literally ducking one boat and tacking on another one, and just swung the boat through, and he's like, how did you know you weren't, how'd you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there's one of those things that comes to mind that you're like, well, that was a move that it was the boat that you sailed the most, you felt the most comfortable with, and you felt like you knew you could get through.
Yeah
I think
that's one of those where you have to go back, bow down to not foul the guy that you're tacking to miss anyway. You're like, I got to go back down to get in line. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, those are good maneuvers.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what's your best role on a boat? 'Cause I'm sure you do. I mean, I know you do big boats, little boats. What's your best role? Are you a tactician, a trimmer, strictly driver? What do you think?
Now I'm a trimmer. Mostly spinnaker trimmer, but on these little boats, Melgus 24s and J70s, I'm the trimmer. The jib and the spinnaker, and because I'm the big guy, sometimes we'll have a tactician that'll fine tune the jib because you got to get out on the rail since you're the biggest guy there.
Yeah.
But yeah, trimming. I've always FAR 40s as a trimmer, 1-935s, or I should say a spinnaker trimmer. And like on the big boats, I was always the offside jib trimmer because I was, big, and then I was the spinnaker trimmer, and so that's what I always have been. Amazingly enough, in offshore, I've been the bowman a lot, mostly because I wasn't always big. I have no problem going up the mast. I kind of feel like the bowman, it's like a sixth sense you have, just to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And so I've always been good at that. And so, but spinnaker trimmer is the big thing. Tactics for me, I used to do more, like the Melgus 24 program I was on way back. I just feel like you gotta if you're gonna be a tactician, you better just always be a tactician because your game, you just gotta stay in your game.
It's very mental,
Yeah, and I can help with tactics now, and I have no problem. But we're racing against guys, that are really good,
Yeah.
And I guess one thing was interesting, and I remember this pretty good. I moved back from California, and I was back here, and I had sailed an event in California with Gary Wiseman, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come sail?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so I sailed on a FAR 40 program, and this is in the kind of the beginning of the heyday. And he had me call. I wasn't trim. I was doing mast, because I was new and I'd come into the trimmer. So he had me call breeze, and so I got really good at calling breeze. I think it's the same thing as tactics. It's like if you call breeze and you've never called it before, you almost got to teach yourself how to call it, and then that's why you get good and you figure out the timing and that type of thing. And I got good at that, and like some good guys like him, like Gary, were like, I want you to do this. You're like, yeah, you know who I am.
Yeah.
But you get good at it, and you can get in tone and sync with the trimmer, so then they don't have to do much. You almost are trimming by calling the wind. I did some stuff in the islands with which I guess I should probably add Grenada Race Week as an all-time favorite because we were planning on a J24 on the backside of Grenada, and I was sitting on the back of the boat
Wow.
because we were so fast, and the
Yeah.
boat sank that event. But sailing with my boys down in Trinidad we sailed on a couple different boats, but one was a Rykel 44, and I ran pit because that's kind of the same type of thing where as a bowman where you got to guide everything,
Yeah.
and then I would call breeze, and it was the same type of thing where all the guys were like, "Wow, you really know how to call the breeze," and so then I'd start to teach them, and that's another side of things that's pretty fun and pretty cool, and I've been really, really blessed to be able to go sail in a lot of different places and a lot of different programs and people that are all kinds of levels.
Mm.
It's been really cool.
Yeah. I can imagine. All right. I was going to say, I know I skipped over some of my questions, but did I get to your favorite place to sail, or did you just throw in
No,
Grenada? All right. Well, that's one of them.
no,
See, I told you you knew all my questions. So
yeah,
what's your
we'll work
favorite
our way
place?
there.
Uh huh.
I'm going to pull a Judd Smith on this one, and I'm going to name a lot of them.
Okay.
So the islands are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Grenada is amazing. Barbados is amazing. The BVI is amazing.
Yeah.
When you can get down the islands and sail, it's awesome. Key West is definitely a favorite. There's not many places, or really, there's no other place in the U.S. that you can sail with that kind of swell and
Yeah.
that kind of breeze.
Yeah.
Miami, I like Miami a lot, but Biscayne Bay is small waves and that type of thing. Sailing outside in Miami is just harder to get there.
Yeah.
So those are the places. Warm water to me is kind of a favorite.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty blue water and big breeze is definitely a favorite. But to get away from the warm water, but still have the beautiful blue water, is Harbor Springs, Michigan,
Wow.
and Traverse City, Michigan. Those
Yeah.
two places in the northern Michigan are just amazing. The water's a little colder, but we're usually sailing there in July and August,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pretty spectacular as well. I haven't been lucky enough to sail in Garda or any place like that. Hawaii was fun, but I didn't sail as much on morning light. I just coached, so I was only on the boat a little bit. In that, but still, the Caribbean, it's hard to beat.
Yeah. It's hard to beat the islands.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've got. I just finished up Taylor Canfield interview with him the other day, and talking to him reminded me of this guy Mark Claxton down there. I sailed with him for about 5 or 6 years, doing the whole circuit. So I got to know the Caribbean pretty well. And man, I tell you, I just miss it. That was fun sailing. All right, so let's move on to one of these next ones. What's your favorite program that you've been involved with? You've been on a lot of different big boat programs and good little boat programs or small keel boat programs.
yeah.
Which one's been one of your favorites and one of the best?
Well, special was only boat captain really, as that's morning light.
Mm.
In fact, I was just talking to someone today that was involved with the program, and Roy Disney just knows how to do it.
Yeah.
The kids that came through the program, they were very lucky. A few of them were very good sailors, and they were going to become,
Really good.
what
Yeah.
they are. But
Mm.
just the top notch that Roy did, being able to just hang out with. I mean, you just hang. Who hangs out with Roy Disney? I mean, it's
Right.
like I did. It's like, I waited for him to get onto a plane because he was flying standby when and he was more excited about his Costco luggage than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just such a normal, neat guy. It just kind of took care of he wanted the program to be perfect, and
Yeah.
it was, and it was really pretty neat to see. And he's got a group of guys that are now working with Roy Pat that
Yeah.
it's a pretty special program. That's the one that I was the closest with. We've done some stuff with the WindQuest guys, and Doug is such a great guy.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Most of the rest of what I've been doing is even though I'm involved with some of the programs, we're more behind the scenes, and we've changed from kind of being involved with one program to being involved with like
Yeah.
all
20.
the programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we work with Joel Ronning and Patrick in the Catapult program, and there's great guys, and it's just neat that the guys understand the importance of us, even though we're not really part of the team. When you end up getting on a plane or going to the airport with John Kostecki, and you sit and have a meal and just talk, and you hear from some nice things that he says to someone else, and they understand that we're there for the sport and for them, and even though we're not part of the program. So there's a lot of these programs, the J70s and the Melgus 24s, that are serious and they want to do things right. Those are the ones that what we try to do is work with them, make sure their program's perfect, but then they also want us to work to bring the other guys up. They don't want to go win everything. They want everyone to do well. Obviously they want to win the whole thing, but they don't want to win it hands down. They want to bring more people up in the sport, and just seeing, like, look what Joel's done with the J70 fleet up in Wayzata. I mean, I got a call 2 days ago from a guy going, "Hey, I want to buy a J70," and I'm like, he's like, "I don't know if I can sail it this year," and I'm like, "You want to buy a boat? You don't know if you can sail it? That means you're doing something right up there."
Yeah.
So it's great to see the guys, Peter Duncan and what he does. His is a program because he's got multiple boats, but he's kind of one of the first guys that hired me as a sailing director at American Yacht Club. And so I knew him in 96 to 97, and just these guys that are really good businessmen, but they get it. They come and talk to you, and they're just normal people.
Peter's a great guy, and he's always got just top-notch stuff. So trust me, if I had an open checkbook or you were really nice, I'd send hull number 9 up to you and say, just pretty it up. All the go fast is there, but I'm all kind of ghetto with my blocks don't match. I'm all ghetto from there. But,
understand.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to America's Cup. What are your thoughts on the new iteration of it? With the I guess the wings and the spider legs. I don't know what you want to call them, but
I mean, I always think the technology side of things is really cool. The foiling is awesome. I think it's just gotten a little too far away from real sailing. And not that I don't think it's cool. I think it's really cool. There's some really good people that have done things, but I think in the last few cups, they're just going away from sailors and and having people who just can spin the handles. And even turning some of the sailors that we know into just someone that's turning the handles.
Right.
I did see a cool thing, and I don't know his name, but there was a guy who's a rower that I just kind of saw a spotlight.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense. To grab a canoe, a Olympic class canoer, and so at least they know the water. We just need to figure out. I just feel like we need to figure out. Like, I kind of consider America's Cup the Grand Prix of sailing. But it's gone away from that because the Grand Prix has 20, 30 cars.
Right.
We have 5.
Right.
So I think we need to figure out a way to get smaller boats with, say, even just 4 to 5 people on them, and 20 to 30 teams.
Yeah. Just some sort of middle ground, because think about it this way: the America's Cup being as advanced as it is, and it always has been, but it's advanced so far that it is so many generations ahead of normal sailing now that there is no trickle down, because it's just too far ahead, So it'd be great if we could find a trickle down out of it. I just don't, I'm not quite bright enough to figure out what it is. So.
Well, America's Cup has always gone into other, areas, to bring it into the sport. I mean, I have my dad's cousin. He built 13 keels for America Cubed. He never sailed in his life. He just happened to be an engineer that knew how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's good. So we have that opportunity to try to figure that out. And you almost want to say, hey, let's take a Melgus 24 and make it out of carbon and turbo it and make that the class so that we can use regular Melgus 24s to practice to get there, or something like that, or you can have a lower one, or we have a boat that has an aluminum mast, but if you want to turbo it, there's a carbon upgrade,
Yeah.
a minor league to the big leagues
Yeah.
that you can do. Something like that, I think, is what I'm kind of,
Yeah.
trying to figure out if we can help do.
It's like that boat, the Mule, the small America's Cup
Yeah.
boat. I don't know what that thing is, but it is an awesome looking boat. It'd be great if it were in the water, much less foiling. Just
Yeah.
the shape of it looks great. Why don't we just mass produce those and race those? I mean, and even that way, even if it is super high tech and it is still, I'm sure, it's incredibly expensive boat, that would be at least a starter platform. And I mean, teams could build 10 of them, and like I say, because, talking with Taylor the other day, it kind of breaks my heart for him. He did everything you need to do about becoming the best in the world at match racing, really learning that skill, and now with his new foiling, it's just sort of it's lost.
Well, and match racing circuit's kind of lost too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bummer, and they're trying to decide if they're going to stay in catamarans, or I think now they're in monohulls, and of course now we're not doing anything. But yeah, it's really really difficult. And that boat, the Mule, I was actually lucky enough to be on the water sail testing RS-21s with the Mule right there going back and forth. And, of course, we see the Mule going back and forth, and we see KZ5, coming upwind. And, it's kind of what's old and new. And it was pretty cool. But that's, a 38, McConaughey 38 is what the hull is.
Yeah.
And those are really cool boats. So it's just kind of a bummer, sort of, that it's just gotten too detached from the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yep. Like you say, I don't know. I mean, I love it. I think it's cool, but there's so many different points to it. All right. Well, let's move on with this. What are your thoughts on women sailing these days? With you traveling around, seeing all different classes, is it better? Can we do more? What are your thoughts?
I think we can always do more. My wife, we bought our J70 so she could start to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got pregnant. So that was the goal. She had done bow and done a bunch of world championships herself on Melgus 24s, and so she wanted to do more. She did a bunch of women's match racing, and it's interesting getting her perspective, because she's like, I don't want to sail with a bunch of women. She liked being on a team where there were 2 women and 3 guys, and the combination mix, which is good. And so I like that side of things. We want to build our best teams out of the best people, and women are very strong. It's way more things than guys are. And so, creating the opportunities, like, I guess what I would like to do is figure out how to create an opportunity where it's not like we're not saying you have to have women. I'd rather try to figure out an opportunity where women want to be there, and so, creating boats that are better for women drivers. I mean, I think we're always going to struggle with the fact that once women start having kids, they usually disappear for a little bit. That's we're not going to change that. My wife is
living
disappeared
proof
for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm all for the classes I like the most is like the Melgus 24 class always had a lot more women, because to get to that weight you wanted more hands, and so it was a great class. The Vanguard 15 class that we're dealing with, there was always a lot of women because of the crew ratio. And so those always seem to be more fun anyways. So I mean, I think it's just trying to figure out. I mean, the IC37s, you look at those photos and there's women and girls everywhere. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, where'd you find this many? Because we go to regattas and you're like, a bunch of dudes hanging out. It's not a whole lot of fun. So I think we're always thinking about it, being a company that's owned by, a husband and wife that, I have 2 daughters, it's definitely always thought about by us, and always, trying to figure out what we can do to help out. Our RS-21 last year in Charleston Race Week, I could have gone and driven the boat. I handed it off to a female driver. They won. So we just need to have more opportunities like that where we can figure out a best way it'd be great to have an owner, like you said, that had a bunch of money that just decided, hey, my tuning partner is going to be, a female,
Yeah.
because the sport needs it. We all need it. We're all better with women in our lives. It's just, we just need to keep doing more of it,
Yep.
figure it out.
Yep. All right. Well, we're getting a little long here, so I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions. Try to hit them as short as possible, which is going to be difficult with this one. And this is, how do we improve sailing? How do we get more people in?
Well, we're working on that. And I think by doing these smaller regattas that are less intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
the RS-21 North Americans are going to be in Houston at the middle to end of May. And it's 12 boats, and we'll have up to 24 teams. And, keeping the cost down and having, sorry, my kids are here.
Yeah.
I call it college sailing for adults.
Yeah.
We need to figure out college sailing for adults where it's not a money game. All the boats are the same, and we go sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And we rotate crews. If you have 24 teams and 12 boats,
Rotate.
then
Yeah.
you have that many more spectators.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. It's showing up at a regatta, and the coaching's there.
Yeah.
There's a coach there that's going to help everybody, and that's what we're working on with this Vanguard 15 series,
Mm-hmm.
fine tuning it, and that's what we're doing with the RS-21 North Americans. And we need to have ways that people look at sailing and go, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then we need the answer for how they can do that, and these clubs need to be more open to anyone. I don't know if you know about like the situation with St. Pete Sailing Center, but it's owned by the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it's partnered with St. Pete Yacht Club, but you can be a member of the St. Pete Sailing Center for like $350 a year. And you can sail their boats then,
Mm-hmm.
like every day of the year but Monday.
Yeah.
And so, creating things like that just need to happen more. Our junior program here that we started, we kind of took over 6 years ago. It's in our town park. It's very reasonable. It's growing slowly because we want it to grow slowly, but we have more people from town than the lake
Mm-hmm.
that come and do it. And so creating programs like that, I think,
Just get
are
new people.
important.
Yeah. Just get newer people that aren't directly have access is always a good thing. All right. So, what kind of ideas do you have for new people? You got any advice for them?
Ask lots of questions and just work hard. If you're new, try to put yourself, with people that that are good,
Mm-hmm.
and ask questions. Work hard. If you get on a program, be there first thing to help, get the boat ready. When you're on the water, know when to ask questions. Work hard and just have fun and be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's just, you don't want to be the one talking. You're not going to learn anything by talking. And so, if you're the snack-tician for a while, that's okay. Everyone's going to love you, and just listen and take it in, and, and just help people. I think there's a lot of people that will, that have come up and gotten better, and just because they've asked questions and they've gotten there. And if someone doesn't know and they want to sail and don't know the right boat or whatever, just, you can always call us. I know they can always call you.
Yeah.
Jump on a sunfish, jump on a whatever. You don't need to have, just ask questions and just,
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah. Ask questions, but listen. So, which is a big thing. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one short at 19 questions, even though I think the first one snuck in there. So, I got my 20 questions with you. So, everybody, this is Zane with Sailing Views, and I want to thank Ed with Sail 22. His wife and kids have done, and him have, they've all done amazing things. I know they've got a lot of live video things going on, video blogs, YouTube videos, kind of just like this. So look for him, support him. If you need help at a regatta, he's at a lot of big ones. So give him a call, look him up, and thank you, Ed. And everybody, hit the like button, subscribe button, all that stuff. Help me grow this thing. Let's get it bigger so I can keep doing it. All right, and with that, we're out. So over, out, and bye-bye.
Thank you.